Hi everyone, I'm Candice with Eclectic Coach, and in this video I want to be getting into some of the things that we can get through when we do coaching together and why it's so helpful whether you work with me or someone else, whoever you resonate with, to get coaching. And as much as I love therapy, and I think that there's a tremendous amount of value in going through and looking at the events of your life and your history and processing your emotions. I love coaching. I think it's amazing for getting into action and seeing results. And that's why I think a lot of therapists adapt coaching into their model. And I just feel really called to do this, and I'm excited. So one of the things is you can work on beginning to see your life as a divine comedy instead of a tragedy. But this is not to say that you are going to constantly make fun of yourself. For some cultures, British humor, for example, is very big on self-deprecating humor. And it's okay to laugh at yourself every once in a while. But when we constantly make ourselves the butt of a joke, and we're always making fun of our body shape or how we show up, and we start constantly talking about ourselves like we're a joke, we kind of sell that story to the people around us. So it's important to be aware of that. And that's something that we also look at when we're working together is, I've heard you make fun of yourself and you've said this thing about your weight or your hair or your intelligence. And it's kind of like you're making fun of yourself. What is that about? Because when we do that, our life isn't a comedy. It is a tragedy because we're trying to mask fear. We're trying to mask feelings of rejection. And that's something that we want to get through in coaching and just become aware of what those habits are and to change them. And one of the things, though, is that we can embrace the humor in everyday life situations. Like when we lose our keys or things don't go as planned, trying to see it like it's a movie and, oh no, look at what didn't happen, or sharing some levity in a situation that's really tense is really helpful. And so learning to laugh at your own mistakes in the moment, not necessarily making a joke of yourself, is something that's so helpful. Recognizing them just as a part of the overall human experience can really help us connect in an authentic way when we're not trying to be all perfect, because people do love authenticity. People do love vulnerability. I love Brene Brown's work around this, that sometimes when it's just too perfect, something seems off about it. And so when we're able to laugh and kind of be silly, and it allows us to be present in the moment, and it allows us to connect more authentically with other people. And then another thing is shifting your setbacks and seeing them as like plot twists in your story, in your story through this human life. If you believe in reincarnation, which I do, and if you don't, that's fine. But you are this avatar in this lifetime, and being able to see everything that happens in your life as being a part of a larger story can help you find the humor in it and help you be happier just in your day-to-day life. And it allows you to kind of zoom back, because sometimes we get really myopic and really focused on the problem and we stay on it. And as we zone in on the problem, fix it, how do I do this? It can make it really hard to see all the opportunities that are already all around you. So kind of zoning back and looking at it from a different perspective, like what if this was a movie? Also looking at maybe using some of the silly things that happen in your life, or the inconveniences, or even some of the painful things. Like I was talking to a friend, and they were talking about their recovery journey and how everybody in the rooms of the 12-step meeting just laughs about some things that they would normally find really, really painful. So when we're able to share a laugh like that, It allows us to extend grace to ourselves, and it allows us then to extend grace to other people. And it also helps us raise our frequency so we're able to see solutions and opportunities that are already all around us that we otherwise wouldn't be able to see if we were too zoned in to what's not working and what's not going right. Another thing is celebrate your growth around the journey. You don't have to be better than anyone else. You're just going to be better than who you used to be. And that's a big thing of why I'm doing these videos, is I really struggle with perfectionism, and I'm really conflict adverse, and that's why I will not necessarily have comments available. I may make them available later on when I can pay somebody else to moderate them, and just, not that I don't want to hear nice things and appreciation, but there are just some people that I don't need to hear from on the internet. And it's really just about, for me personally, connecting with you guys and sharing useful information that might help you, and self-expression. So that's how I've decided to mitigate that. But yeah, so where was I? Celebrate your growth journey. See how far you've come, and laugh at some of the things that you've done in the past when you didn't know better. And laugh when you sometimes kind of fall back into that, and you can get back on track again faster when you're not being hard on yourself, and when you're able to see, oh yeah, that's something I used to do. That's no longer aligned with my identity, and not beat up on yourself in this mean, super critical way. It can kind of lighten the critical voice that you have in your mind. But don't turn it into like this mean person that's making fun of you. That's not where we're going with this. It's about having a softer tone in your mind. Like, oh, come on, that's not such a big deal. And when you're able to extend that kind of love and self-acceptance and compassion to yourself, then and only then do you have that available to give to anybody else. Practicing detachment is something else that we talk about in coaching, because we get obsessed with different things. Our whole consumer culture is based on, how do I get this thing so that I'm okay and I'm not enough and I've got to drive this, and all these things linked to our ego identity, when in truth we're something so much larger and connected to the divine and connected to something whole and that's perfect. And we just come into these human bodies, I believe anyway, to learn and to grow. And so let's laugh about it. And also, if you can look at your astrology chart, you're going to see that you're just going to have certain weaknesses in certain areas. You're going to have certain areas where you're going to really have to work to grow and develop that part of yourself. And again, it's all about kind of having a sense of humor and laughing about it, and just being like, okay, yeah, I'm kind of bossy in this area, or yeah, I struggle to get motivated. I struggle sometimes to get motivated. I used to have a t-shirt that said, I'm not lazy, I'm just overcome by gravity. And it really sometimes feels like that for me. Like I'm like swimming through like all this data and all this information and lights and colors and different sounds and things like that are just really overwhelming to me. I have an INFJ personality type, and so yeah, my extroverted sensing is in my inferior function. And if you are interested in that kind of stuff, I do personality-based coaching, so we can really dial into your unique personality type, customize your workouts, self-care routines, stuff like that. But for me, extroverted sensing is something that I have to deal with, but I have to deal with it in a conscious way, because when I get into a grip, which is where the less developed part of your personality is being acted out unconsciously, I can get really overwhelmed and isolate. And so, just being able to see where that is in my chart, or see where that is in my personality type, I can laugh and just be like, oh yeah, that's something I struggle with, no big deal, and create some strategies for how to mitigate that. And another thing that we look at in coaching is how to find meaning in the mundane little things in life. Because think about anybody that you love. It's the little quirky things that they do that maybe aren't so perfect, that give them character, that give them meaning to you in their life. And also being able to have a sense of humor allows us to trust that there's a bigger picture going on. What if everything is guided? What if nothing is ever happening to you? Everything is always happening for your greater benefit, your greater growth. That's so important to look at because it allows you to find the magic in life's little moments. And it helps you surround yourself with a sort of lighthearted energy with so many things going on in the world. Like, I feel tempted to list them sometimes at work. I'm just like, what do you think about the robots taking all of our jobs? What do you think about AI? And is it going to kill us, or is it going to help us become better? Are we going to weaponize it? Are we going to optimize it? And like, people just look at me like I'm so weird and I'm so strange. And that could really get me down if I didn't have a sense of humor about it and if I didn't embrace that about myself. So it's also, when we are in coaching, looking at what cute, quirky little things make you and, are a part of your fun personality. And I'm just really liking the blue light for some reason. Like, I like a lot of light. But it's about looking at those things and bringing out the best of them while doing some damage control on some of your weaknesses. And having self-awareness without so much self-criticism is a really important way to see your life as a divine comedy instead of like, I'm terrible and I did this wrong, because we can really start to loop in criticism. And if we've had a lot of criticism in our life from parents or teachers or bosses or friends or, they can really become internalized voices, and then they sound like us, plus they sound like them. And we can really kind of get stuck in that. And then we keep perpetuating that behavior that doesn't serve us. When we can kind of see it, some of our weaknesses also hold some of our greatest strengths. And looking at, okay, well, I'm not so good in this area. I'm not so good at every little detail. Me personally, management of every single physical detail or any. Like, I could trip over something like 10 times before I realize it's even there. I can get so into my own little world. But for me, I can look at, well, what do I have? I have a very rich inner world. I have the ability to think in large abstraction, and you have things that are quirky and unique and special to you that are some of your greatest strengths that you often look at as your greatest weaknesses. And so being fun and lighthearted about it lets you kind of off the hook a little bit, because it doesn't help you to beat up on yourself. And appreciate the unexpected. So there's beauty in the chaos. Have you ever been around somebody who just wants to keep everything so rigid and they're having such a hard time? Life is like a gigantic game of whack-a-mole when you're trying to do that. When one problem gets solved, then you got another one. You got another one. You're trying to keep everybody in line. You're just driving yourself and everyone else nuts. And that doesn't mean that if you are a great planner or a strategic thinker or you're really good at structure and routines that you can't utilize those things. But being able to look at yourself with some gentleness and humor allows you to look at, oh, wow, I'm being kind of controlling and I need to kind of lighten up here and I need to apply it over here. So these are some ideas on how you can use coaching to see your life as kind of funny and humorous and entertaining and lighthearted. And I hope you enjoyed this video, and follow me. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And I will also have a link for how you can get a hold of me if you're interested in coaching. And I hope you stay tuned for the next video. And hopefully soon I will allow comments. And I look forward to connecting with you again. Thanks.